Welcome back. It's time for some more garden goodies. Of course, Justin is out live in his garden this morning. Justin, you mentioned you're going to be talking about weeds, but also plants that might look like weeds but aren't weeds, if that makes sense.
That's right. That makes sense, Sadie, because you might look at my garden here and you see I haven't kept up on the weeding all that much, but some of these plants are plants that I want to grow. Yes, if you grow a garden and you have a good amount of space, you can let some plants go to seed and not harvest them. And then next year, those seeds get into the ground and you might get new plants growing that you didn't even have to plant. Some people call them volunteer plants. And here is a mustard plant, which I do let mustard grow nowadays. I collect the seeds and I make homemade mustard. It's great, just like my homemade mayonnaise, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But back here, what do I have? I've got another volunteer plant. This is a ground cherry. That is coming up, and I've got a lot of those popping up everywhere because one ground cherry plant will produce like hundreds of little ground cherries. You can't eat them all. They fall to the ground, and then you get new plants next year. What's this? It's a tomato plant. It's actually one of those little golden tomato plants, and if I let this one grow, it'll become huge and we'll get a ton of those little tasty tomatoes. And behind me, under the canopy there, back toward the fence, are some beans, pole beans that fell off of the fence last year, the seeds, and they're growing up. What I do is I dig them up and then I transplant them to a different spot where along the fence where they can grow this year. So that's a little way that you can kind of save money, I suppose, not having to buy as much seed or as many plants. If you just wait a little while in the spring, these will pop up naturally sometimes. I know some other gardeners in the area I talk to will do that with like lettuce and spinach. They'll let a few plants go to seed, and then next year they'll watch where some new lettuce might be coming up, or a cabbage plant, or a Brussels sprout, who knows. But you can do that. It takes a little bit of management, but it's kind of a neat thing. And most of these, they're going to get hoed down like weeds. But a few of them, I'm going to transplant, and I'll have new produce growing this year in the garden. Well, stay tuned. We'll have more weather and gardening coming up.